crown. But again, as we say as Muslims, that God will never burden a soul beyond its capacity. And as he has him to the public, he has lost not only appointees but real close aides and allies and advisors at a goal. And so that is devastating. And I think that it will take a while for, the president, if he will ever recover from this blow. But he knows he owes a duty to lead this nation, and he will do what is required of him as a leader of this nation. So it is a very difficult period. So permit me again to just use this moment to extend the president's gratitude to the families of our departed comrades and heroes for their patience and their understanding and their cooperation in the lead up to all the processes that had to be done in order for a full determination of the remains and identification of the remains before we're able to allow for the families to proceed, especially with the Muslim victims, with the burial that happened yesterday. And tomorrow, the families of Alhaji Limuna and Honorable Murtala will be holding their 3-day Adua separately in Accra and in Tamale, whilst we prepare for the 15th for the interfaith state funeral service on the 15th. So thank you to the families. Thank you to Ghanaians for the outpouring of love. Today, the religious leaders paid him. In fact, they went and paid their respects at the memorial grounds in front of the Jubilee House, after which they visited His Excellency at home, prayed with him, prayed for his appointees, and prayed for the nation. I think that meant very, very it was very important to the president that he had that session with the religious leaders. So that is where we are as a government on this very
So let's come to you personally now.
event.
I was on campus with you, so I know you know at least 2 of the 8 very well, Omani Boamah and Murtala. So let's start with Omani Boamah. What was your relationship like with him? And why is his death such a major
Also,
blow?
just to add briefly, indeed, to what Dr. Soji Tete said earlier, that our deepest condolences goes out to every single one of our victims. They are indeed the 8 courageous heroes that have laid down their lives in the line of a national duty and service. And for that, this nation will forever be indebted to them, to their memory, and of course to the families, individual families of all of the 8 departed soldiers, I call them. So you're right. With the exception of Sami, that I did not have an experience with on campus, I think that from Pesa White to Soji, we've had some working relationships. Soji, a bit later on, when both of us became the in-country coordinators and facilitators for a British Council leadership program that we were the pioneer participants in. And afterwards, we became the in-country support moderators for subsequent modules. Michael Cressel White is the reason why I went into student politics, because when I started Radio Universe in level 100, I got a visit from him one day that he came to look for me. I didn't know him then. He came to look for me at Radio Universe and invited me to support their SRC campaign at the time with Ken Gomado as the hopeful and Michael Crystal White as his running mate. So I became the coordinator of their campaign in Volta Hall.
Wow.
And that is how I was introduced into student politics, because they won that elections and I found myself in the General Assembly from level 100, that is. So it is through the General Assembly then that I would meet Omani,
Wow.
as Michael has rightfully, recalled our time together as student leaders. And the memories I have, in fact, Dr. Amanda, so we're all in they would join the student leadership a bit later on, and we're all friends. And on our bus ride to that Kumasi Congress is when, like Ablakwa said, I saw Omani reading a book of Che Guevara. I hadn't honestly heard Che Guevara. I think that Fidel Castro's, had a more towering image and memory in my mind then. So I said, "Who is this person?" He was like, "Hey, you don't know who this person is." I said, "I don't know." So we had a whole conversation about his ideals and what he stood for and what he fought for and how, he died doing what he loved to do. And so that was Omani for you. You would always see him reading books. Omani never had an imposing personality, and he was quite self-effacing,
Yeah.
if interact with him. But as many people have since said, you will not leave his presence without having felt like, in conversations with him, that your own value has just increased just by mere interaction with him. And later on, I would find out that, when you're faced with some challenge that you can't begin to figure out how to resolve it, the way that he escalates what you think is an escalating situation was quite profound. And so he was a young person way above his years. And recently I said that I was not surprised that both Omani and Murtala will rise to public prominence. And somebody on the social media came to say, but where was I in their student days? Because I made reference to their student days. They probably didn't know that I sat in the same general assemblies with them. And so that relationship continued. Of course, after school, I went into development work in NGO work. So we didn't have any interaction. Safe to say, on rare occasions when we did meet, we'll just go back through memory, line and have those fond reflections. And then politics did happen and bring us, together again. So Omani is who everybody says he is. Omani seems to be someone who was many things to many people. And we wouldn't have known just how deeply involved he was in the lives of the people who were around him, the people who were most close to him, who all looked at him and up to him as their de facto leader.
Yeah.
So you would describe him as a leader of leaders. And Sami, Sam George, Stan Dobe, Joyce Bauer, Obobia, who are so devastated, were like, the glue also around him. And sometimes you even envied the depth of the friendship that, existed, friendships that was nurtured over time. That was the kind of person he is. I've come across so many people showing me text messages of conversations they had that morning.
Yeah.
So I wondered how early does his day start and how late does it end? Because he seems to have a response. If you send Omani a text messages this morning, if he doesn't get to you by close of day, he will
He will
respond
respond.
to you.
That's true.
And for us in similar situations that find ourselves struggling to keep up, you wonder what time management skills he has honed over time that allows for him to account for every single minute of the day.
Yeah.
And so we have truly lost one of our best and brightest. And that's the way of God. You can't question it. I think
Yeah.
we as painful as it is for us to accept, we do accept. For Murtala, again, we were in the same General Assembly. If you recall, Murtala and Albert Kwashiga also contested the SRC. I think the same year that Ekpo Enima Aka, Mike, if you
And
remember
John
him or
Kuma.
if you're yes, but unfortunately, So Murtala was the running mate to Albert Kwasiga, and I teased him to no end that they didn't win that particular, election, but he was a vociferous member of the General Assembly.
Yeah.
Murtala would rise on the point of order, a point of information, on almost every single issue. He made General Assembly meetings lively, he was provocative, and I think that it was also for some of us who were coming into a new space, who were also, a bit timid, and coming into our own, those kinds of moments is what really also inspired us to also just stand up and speak, and also, express yourself. And truly, truly, it is
Yeah.
so sad because
Yeah.
Motala was one of the colleagues when I finally put my ring. I finally decided to, join national. He always used to ask me, won't you do this politics? Because they thought I would have transitioned like many of them did, but it was not time. And the day he saw me on a platform, he was one of the first people to give me a call. He was excited for me more than I was excited for myself. And he remained a brother through and through, giving me feedback, encouraging me. And it is sad that they would live at the prime of their life with young families and young wives and young children. It is
Yeah.
devastating to even begin to think
Thank you, Shamima. Let me
why
go
this
around.
has happened.
Thank you for your